So we got a game this weekend, Cakes.
Correct.
It's been a weird week because we did 2 shows and day off.
Mm-hmm.
But coming off their 4th straight win, which clinched a playoff berth, you have New Year's Eve. Now you start gearing up for the next game. Final game is against the Cowboys. So where do the Commanders stand in terms of injuries? Yesterday, because of the wind, they had a walkthrough. They called it a jog through inside the bubble.
Okay.
Here's your status on some of the players who are banged up. Remember, they had 2 offensive linemen, Tyler Biadasz and Cornelius Lucas, banged up in that game. Biadasz didn't practice. Lucas and Andrew Wiley, groin, neither even showed up to the jog through.
Okay.
So their offensive line, they're dealing with some injuries. Marshawn Lattimore, still not practicing. I don't want to do this. Would be if it continues like this for the rest of his career, and it's early. Like, let's say this happens next year, it's Marshawn play no more. He just doesn't play very much, right?
Like that, yeah.
He did play in 1 game against the Saints, then he got injured again in the next game. Supposedly, he's not going to play until the playoffs at the earliest.
Well, yeah. There's if you can find a bet, if you can find a book that takes a bet, will Marshawn Lattimore play against the Dallas Cowboys? You would bet all of your life savings on no. Now, nobody's going to offer the bet because he's not going to be playing.
Apparently, he was doing speed drills on the side. Safety Tyler Owens is dealing with an ankle. Jordan McGee, the linebacker's dealing with a hamstring. They both missed last week's game, but their status now is limited. And then De'Ami Brown also dealing with a hamstring. He missed the Falcons game. He's still out. So they're dealing with injuries. They're going to play the Cowboys. Just to kind of get you up to speed on this game.
Good injury news. Austin Ekeler, full participant.
I was going to get to that.
In his return to practice on Wednesday.
Yes,
so that's a good thing.
They opened the 21-day practice window. Huge for them to have him back on the field in 11 games this season. 4 touchdowns on 355 yards rushing. 33 catches for 346 yards. And then you kind of sleep on him on kick returns. Now, people are liking what they're seeing from Luke McCaffrey on kick returns, but Ekeler was averaging 31.3 yards on kick returns.
That's a healthy number for one Austin Ekeler. Hopefully he's good to go after suffering that scary second concussion. I can't remember what game that was in. Maybe the Pittsburgh game? I'd have to double check that.
So to kind of get you up to speed on this game coming up on Sunday, they take on the Cowboys. That means they're going to face Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush, do you know his record against the Washington Commanders, Cakes?
I do not.
2-0.
Oh.
Against the Commanders, he's completing 66% of his passes. I think this is a pretty good touchdown-interception ratio. 5-0.
That's pretty solid. Though hopefully he has a performance much like what he did against the Eagles, where he threw 2 picks. He completed just about half of his passes and threw for well under 200 yards.
We started to talk about this on Tuesday, and if you want to chime in, it is Open Line Thursday, presented by Window Nation. Searching for new windows and doors, search windownation.com. Their doors are measured to fit the first time, and their windows. And installed by experts to last. Window Nation for your home, because it's where you live. They say they're going for the 6th seed. So
I
you could rest your starters and don't care, but do you want that momentum to continue? December, they were 4-0. 4-0 in December. So do you want to hand it to Dallas, keep it going? A couple meaningful things, maybe meaningful. Terry McLaurin's chasing history for himself. He only had 1 catch for 5 yards last week. But McLaurin has one. If McLaurin has 1 touchdown reception against the Cowboys, it'll set a new franchise record with 13. He tied Ricky Sanders' 36-year-old record earlier this season.
Speaking of, I'm glad you brought up Terry McLaurin. Valdez brought this up yesterday. I think when Jason comes back, I'm guessing he's back Monday. I don't know that for sure. I think I am going to basically be able to buy a new house with all the winnings from my Terry McLaurin bets from before the season.
He's made you look very good. Hat tip to Jaden Daniels on that one.
Certainly. I don't care how it happened. I'm just glad that Terry hit all those benchmarks that I was aiming for before the season started.
So if he gets one more TD, new franchise record with 13.
Yeah.
McLaurin also needs 184 receiving yards. Now that's a big amount of yardage.
That's a big ask.
To get to 6,500 yards for his career, needs 177 yards to pass Hall of Famer Bobby Mitchell for 5th all-time in franchise history. So he is climbing the ranks. Speaking of ranks, where do you think Washington ranks amongst toughest places to play? 111 NFL players ranked the toughest places to play.
Well, it can't be.
All right, your top three. Is Washington the top three?
Can't be.
Who are your top three? Who are your top three?
Top three tough places to play. I'm going to guess Arrowhead is on that list.
That's one.
All right.
That actually was number one.
Number one. I'm going to say Highmark Stadium, home of the Bills. I think that's
not in the top tier.
Ooh, it's not. Okay.
You're sleeping on Drab is the clue.
The 12th, the 12.
Yes.
Lumen Field.
Seattle number 2. And then
who's number 3?
If you say the motto, I don't know if that's the right word. If you say the motto, EB is going to say, I don't even know what that is.
Okay. The motto for Skull.
How many times do you think EB said, I don't even know what that is?
I could ask him every day from now until we stop doing the show, what team does the Skull chant? And you just come up empty.
By the way, I don't know if we should say this or not. EB was supposed to come to the party, but and he can talk about it when he comes. I think he comes back on Monday. Jason, because remember he did that Thanksgiving wraparound?
Yeah, sure.
Drab, you can speak on this because he has to deal with this nightmare of dealing with vacations and everything and setting it all up.
Sure.
But I think because he did an extended Thanksgiving, and he never really went anywhere in the summer, he was going to basically take 1 week of work and then be back on vacation for Christmas.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, why don't I just push that Christmas thing back? I feel like he's not going to be back next week.
Yeah, he may not be. I don't know.
Jason will be back midweek.
Okay.
He's taking a few more days. I told him, look, the Commanders are in the playoffs.
Right.
We need you here.
Right.
You would figure out your days later on.
Got it. All right. So midweek, Jason Bishop. We'll see him return.
All right. So tier 2 hostile environments includes the Bills,
right?
The Eagles, and the Saints.
Okay. The Superdome can get pretty loud if the Saints are good. They haven't been good for a while, but I can understand that.
Tier 3 toughest places to play: Denver, Green Bay.
No love for M&T
Pittsburgh.
Bank. What about M&T Bank in
It's
Baltimore?
in there. Detroit, Baltimore, Cleveland. So some of it is altitude, for example, or noise and tradition. Point is, Washington, they're not in the mix. And there's an entire division that did not qualify for toughest places to play in the NFL.
What division's bad? I know. I think I know.
All right.
The AFC South.
Yes. Tennessee, Jacksonville, Houston, Indianapolis.
Who would be intimidated going to play at Tennessee or Jacksonville? The answer is nobody.
Since 2021, visiting teams have a 56.3% winning percentage against AFC South teams.
Wow, that's pretty high.
In contrast, AFC North has been the hardest division to play with a 38.7% winning percentage for visiting opponents. I mean, a lot of that is because of the teams. So wanted to kick this around with you for a moment. CBS Sports had a New Year's resolution bit for each NFL team. So I have what they have for Washington. I think I may have told you.
Yep.
And you can chime in at 800-636-1067 if you've got a resolution for the Commanders for 2025. Theirs is get younger around Jaden Daniels.
I mean,
and I think like that makes
young
sense
talent to the roster
generally because Peters came in and he's done an amazing job as the GM, Adam Peters, and he added a lot of veterans, a little bit older. Some have been fantastic to bolster defense that was the worst in the NFL now in the top 10, like Bobby Wagner, but he's an older guy. And you look at some of the talent they brought in, it's not super young. So you would think that that's what they will try to do. So, find some young players they're going to grow and develop with Jaden Daniels.
Certainly. I mean, I kind of sleep on the fact that Terry McLaurin is already 29 years old. Like I look at Terry and I'm like, well, he's probably 25 or 26, and you don't realize how long he's been in the league, how productive he's been.
That's why he's moving up the charts in the historical charts for Redskins Commanders history.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of the other guys in that wideout room. Oz is 27. KJ Osborne is a guy they picked up off the street. He's 27. Yeah, those guys aren't going to be like real players in the future for this team.
Zach Ertz, who's been great.
He's been really good.
Is a veteran who's been around forever. So I think that's a fair resolution for the Washington Commanders to try and get younger around Jayden Daniels. I actually think both sides of the ball. By the way, I didn't update this. So they got rid of Fedarian Mathis. We talked about that.
Second round pick.
Didn't have much production here. I mean, he played in 22 games, battled injuries the first year. How many tackles do you think Fedarian Mathis had in 22 games as a member of the Washington Commanders?
22 games, Fedarian Mathis. Well, I'm going to guess it's well under double digits. I'm going to say he had 6 tackles.
No, it's more than that. It's 25.
Okay.
But about one a game.
Right. It's not great.
And I don't think he had any sacks or forced fumbles or anything. I might have missed a stat, but
going back to a guy who's still on the roster who was invisible this year, I'm sorry. I need to see more out of Ben Sinnott in year 2. I mean, that was a second-round pick, and I understand Zach Ertz has been like the veteran presence, a guy that Jayden can lean on. Ben Sinnott has 5 catches this year. 5. I'm sorry.
He's the third tight end, Cakes.
You need more production out of your second-round pick than 5 catches in a year.
Well, when they move on from Zach Ertz, and I'm not saying that's going to happen next season.
Yeah.
Hopefully, he's ready to step in and be a good receiving threat.
Don't tell me, well, he's a great blocker. You didn't draft him in the second round to be a great blocker.
That's Bates' role.
Yeah, you draft those guys to catch about 40, 50, 60 passes.
So do you agree with the resolution? They need to get younger around Jayden?
Absolutely. Bringing some young, fresh blood to help out the Commanders in 2025 and beyond.